BMW is a relatively simple company. They build fun, luxurious sports cars that have great handling at a somewhat reasonable price point. And they've been killing it for a few generations on that, especially with all the M3s and M4s they sell. But here's the kicker. They don't build supercars, at least not technically. What they like to build instead are flagship Grand Touring coupes that cost as much as a supercar.
But the redeeming quality about these machines is that they are really damn fast. And today we get to experience two generations of them, so I want to see what the difference between an 8 Series and a 6 Series really means when it comes to BMW flagship. Let's take a look.
To understand these vehicles, we have to first understand the M6 competition. BMW only built 250 of these special editions and sent 100 to the US. But it was their former king of the hill. Not much is different between this and a normal M6 except for the Austin yellow paint job, yellow stitching, and the ridiculous 170 grand MSRP. Of course, they never sell for that. Anyway, it's a 600 horsepower 7-speed DCT rear-wheel drive 4,100 pound road shark. Because here's its replacement, the M8 competition. Unfortunately, we couldn't get our hands on a coupe, so we'll make do with the drop top. It's got a little bit more punch at 617 horses, but weighs 400 pounds more because of the added all-wheel convertible architecture. They've gone backwards to a high-performance ZF 8-speed, but I assure you, it's almost every bit as good, if not better in some cases. Cosmetically, it's a lovely upgrade too, and it's probably the last M to have reasonable performance is ultimately what we care about. So let's see if newer is faster. And we should listen to the M6 too.
Oh, and I forgot to mention that this car has downpipes and a full titanium M exhaust.
So we're going to do all these runs with our usual, which is 2 rolls and a dig.
Okay, so that was pretty much the result we're all kind of expecting. A newer sports car is almost always going to be fast in its outgoing model. Challenging. But I wanted to follow up on that BMW versus Porsche showdown we did a few weeks ago. So what do we have that's a little bit more contemporary? Maybe more electrifying?
Taycan Turbo S. Most likely a bit overkill, but we know this is a mid to high 8-second 6 at a 130 car from our tests. And based on my research, the M8 is as well. And while it has its disadvantages, like being such as the equivalent of 750 horsepower and 774 pounds of instantaneous torque. And that's the key here. Despite being similar on paper, the instant peak torque will put the Porsche ahead in the beginning of the race, forcing the BMW to play catch-up. And like the M8, the Taycan is all-wheel drive, so traction. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound nearly as menacing, but I'm sure it'll be a good race nonetheless. Let's see what this thing's got.
that was a pretty good setup. But I feel like the Taycan probably would have done a little bit. Regardless of what Porsche says about peak performance not being affected by battery range or battery life, a lot of evidence seems to suggest otherwise. Anyway, that got me thinking though, what if we put the M8 up this time around something much, much cheaper? Something like my buddy Santiago's big turbo M240i.
We've seen this car on the channel before. It's a hell of a machine, and if you don't remember, on one of our 3x3 showdowns. But back then, it was only FBO on E30 making a modest 550 crank horsepower. And even though it only weighs 3,400 pounds, we pegged putting it up against the M8. Well, because this little guy now has a bigger Vargas GC turbo setup as well as catless downpipes and E30. So we're looking at almost 650 to the crank. But it's got one major disadvantage for modern drag racing. While I'm confident in Santiago's abilities, I really hope his R888Rs can hook in this cold weather. I gotta say, if it's one thing that BMW does well, it's that they get their shades of blue down right. It's hard for me to imagine buying one in any other color, which is why our X6 M50 is also blue. Anyway, let's get to it.
Well, that little M240i just keeps on surprising us. It obviously had no chance from a dig because it's only got rear-wheel drive and it was 40 degrees out, but otherwise it reliably pulled. At the same time, I also know we didn't have the best example of the M8 comp for this comparison because, well, the convertible version makes everything worse and heavier. But if it were the coupe version, maybe a car length in every single race. Just out of curiosity though, I do want to take a look at some of the numbers from the runs. The 2020 BMW M8 competition convertible did our 40.63 seconds, which puts it right up there next to the deceivingly quick 992 Carrera S. It's only 0.2 faster than the M850i, but then again the drop top is an easy 300 to 400 pounds heavier than the Euro spec coupe that we first drove. It's not terribly quick, but in this speed range, things are just getting started. 60 to 130 is more of what we'd like to see in cars of this power level, and in that regard it put down a relatively respectable 8.88 seconds, which is just at the starting point of modern supercar Boulevard Cruiser. I do expect the coupe version to put down close to the mid 8-second times though. Keep in mind that racing runs don't normally produce hero runs, so the car is definitely faster in ideal conditions. So if you want to see more times, check out the fast list through the link in the description below. Me personally, I actually really in either coupe or Grand Coupe. It checks off all the boxes for a GT car. The price is a bit steep, but BMWs tend to lease out extraordinarily well, so that's not really an issue if you have the monthly cash flow. Is that we're starting to see a lot of them pop up locally. It's not like I live in a fancy neighborhood or anything like that, so it's kind of just like a turnoff when I pay a relatively high price for something and then I just see them around everywhere. It kind of takes the specialness out of the car for me. But what do you guys think about the M8? If you're in the market for a fast 2+2 GT coupe, what else that tickles your fancy? Let me know in the comments below. Well, that's it for this episode, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. If so, it'd be awesome if you can hit that like button and share the video with your friends. I can't cover everything I want to in the short amount of time that I have, so if I missed something, let me know in the comments below. As you probably know, it's made on our spare time. So if you want to show your support, I'd really appreciate it if you took a look at our merch store, or maybe bought something through our Amazon affiliate links in the description below. And if this is your first time here, don't forget to check out some more videos on the channel. I produce all sorts of cinematic car content, so if you like what you see, smash that subscribe button for new episodes whenever they come out. Thanks for watching.